This is Valley News Live at 6.
Good evening, everyone. We begin with breaking news. A fire along a popular strip in Detroit Lakes broke out this afternoon, causing an evacuation of the building as well as blocked off streets.
A viewer sent us some video of the fire. We're told that the fire started just before 3 in an apartment above Matson's Barber Shop in the block on the Washington Square Mall. Valley News Team's Aaron Walling joins us now live from Detroit Lakes. Aaron, what's the latest there?
Thanks, Mike. We're here on Washington Avenue where you can still smell some smoke. Now, some of the crews are starting to take off. Frazee Fire Department left earlier. And right now, currently, the ladders, they've taken them down. The ladders were up above, putting water on top of the building, trying to get that fire under control. As of right now, it just seems as though they are going in and out of the building, getting things under control, but also they are currently getting some of that water released. Some of the water rushed by us earlier. As of right now, we do not know what caused the fire. All we know is that we do know that people have evacuated from the building. Live at Detroit Lakes, Aaron Walling, Valley News Live.
All right, thanks, Aaron.
There are concerns tonight from the local Chamber of Commerce surrounding President Biden's aggressive tactic to control the pandemic.
President Biden yesterday announcing a vaccine requirement that will affect as many as 100 million American workers. Valley News Team's JC Dodd has more on the reaction.
Any kind of regulation such as this is not what's best for free enterprise.
According to President Biden, the Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration is developing a rule that will require all businesses with over 100 employees to require their workers to be fully vaccinated or require a negative COVID-19 test once a week.
This is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself and those around you.
The Vice President of Policy for the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber of Commerce says that's government overreach.
I think it was concerning to see that statement come out in that new regulation, not because of the vaccine piece of it, but just because of the regulation and kind of overreach onto businesses across the whole country.
According to the White House, there are roughly 80 million Americans who work for companies with more than 100 employees. And since Thursday's announcement, Grinberg says they've had a few local businesses reach out to the chamber.
You know, that's really hard for them to be able to digest because they're trying to do what's best for their business environment.
She says around 130 businesses that are a member of the chamber fall under the new requirement with over 100 employees. Some, like Sanford and Essentia, already have vaccine mandates, but others, like local school districts, city governments, and the Fargo Park District, may have to require vaccines, begin weekly testing, or face a $14,000 fine, according to the not yet released rule.
Vaccinations are a great tool. It's just that the regulation piece of it is not something that we support. We would want our individual businesses to be able to make those decisions that are best for our community.
JC Dodd, Valley News Live.
The White House says OSHA will issue an emergency temporary standard to implement the new requirement.
Well, what a day, huh? Temps in the 80s still. I'm hearing that it will be changing, however, this weekend as it goes on. Let's find out from our chief meteorologist, Hutch Johnson. Hutch?
Mike, thanks so much. I got to tell you, beautiful weather, summer-like day today to close out the work weekend. We didn't have much wind to deal with as well. Still a lot of sun, a few high clouds mingling there in the Devil's Lake area, thanks to our home of economy view from that location. Now, taking a look at temperatures, even in central Minnesota, we're near 80, and it is warm here in the valley and points east with 80 to 90 degrees for many of us. Notice the blue line, that there is a cold front making its way through, but not until the overnight because Fargo looks quiet. We will slip down into the 70s just after sunset, on our way to the 60s with increasing clouds overnight. And then in Grand Forks, we're expecting temperatures by bedtime to be in those 60s. All in all, beautiful weather tonight, but those changes are on the way for your Patriot Day. Yes, it looks windy, cool, and some showers out there at times. I'll have hour-by-hour details on when and where the best chances of those showers are in a moment.
I think we're going to enjoy this weekend.
It looks good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
The family of a man born in Minnesota is honoring his life and remembering his death 20 years after he died. Thomas Burnett Jr. was on United Airlines Flight 93 when it was hijacked and eventually crashed into a field outside Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Gordon Severson shares his story.
I really think about who he is, who he was, and how much of a hole he's left, that his absence has left in our family.
They say time heals all wounds, but for Martha Burnett Petty, September 11th is still a tough day, even 20 years later.
It feels like it's yesterday, and it feels like it's forever ago. It feels like both of those things.
Her brother Tom Burnett Jr. was a passenger on United Flight 93. Terrorists had taken over the plane, and Tom was among a group of men who went to take it back.
They knew that there was going to be no landing in Bermuda or some other place, that they were on a suicide mission.
During the scuffle, the plane crashed in a rural field in Pennsylvania. No one survived, but family members believe the heroic passengers likely saved countless lives.
They really thought it was that the plane was headed to the White House.
Officials still don't know for sure, but the plane was only 20 minutes away from Washington, D.C. when it crashed.
You know, what he did on United 93 is something that inspires me daily.
Mariah Jacobson never knew Tom Burnett. She was 16 when 9/11 happened. Then 2.5 years later, she learned that Burnett was her biological father.
I felt like I gained him and lost him all in the same moment.
That's when Jacobson started researching everything she could find out about the crash, the role her father played, and the family he left behind.
Formed a really strong relationship with Dina, with all three of my sisters. You know, that's been some consolation at least.
Inspired by her father's heroic actions, Jacobson says she never takes life for granted, seeking out every opportunity to better her community, her family, and to make sure no one forgets her father and the countless other 9/11 heroes who answered the call.
There are so many incredible, inspiring stories that came out of September 11th. I think it's so important that we continue to tell those stories.
Gordon Severson, KARE 11 News.
A sculpture honoring Burnett was dedicated on the first anniversary of 9/11 and is located inside the Mall of America on level 1.
A Fargo high school was the first and only in North Dakota to receive a significant piece of 9/11 history today, as they honored and remembered the victims of the terrorist attacks on September 11th. After a months-long application process, Davies High School was selected to fly the National Freedom Flag, as well as to have a piece of steel from the World Trade Center towers in an effort to keep the memory of September 11th alive for generations to come.
A lot of the kids have seen the Twin Towers have been hit and coming down and stories like that, but they didn't see how we came together as a country.
Students also surprised members of Fargo Fire, Fargo Police, as well as the Army National Guard and local VFW chapter with their own freedom flags this morning. You can learn more about the Freedom Flag Foundation, its mission, and the flag's meaning by heading to our VNL News app and clicking on this story.
The Grand Forks Fire Department and Air Force Base are joining together for a joint open house to commemorate September 11th tomorrow. Chief Gary Lorenz says it's important for people to understand what firefighters and those at the Air Force Base experienced that day.
We feel like this day is very special to us, and for us to have an open house showcasing what we do, what the Grand Forks Air Force Base does on 9/11 is very important to all of us.
The program starts at 9/11 tomorrow morning with a moment of silence for the lives lost. The next 2 hours will be a series of demonstrations with high-angle rescue at 9:30, followed by hazmat and auto extrication.
Happening right now, the Greater Moorhead Days Parade, it's back. Here's a look at the parade, which started a couple of minutes ago. Floats and fleets are from the area businesses are cruising down Center Avenue to the parade theme, which is My Hometown, Celebrate Moorhead. And with that parade, of course, comes some traffic delays. So if you're going to be in that area in a few minutes, you'll see the parade route there, and the parade will flow westbound on Center Avenue, starting at 11th Street, which means Center Avenue from 11th Street to 14th Street is closed. It's set to reopen, I would say, about 45 minutes, around 7 o'clock.
That looks like a lot of fun. Later on Valley News Live at 6, how you can pay your respects to those lives lost 20 years ago on the anniversary of 9/11.
And our fabulous Friday weather continues across the valley. Warm temperatures, not much wind, and beautiful sky conditions. And great soybean harvesting weather as we see this video uploaded to our Valley News Live page. Here's a look at your ideal forecast for the weekend. It does look like we'll see some cooler weather after 80s today. Details next.